Hello, YouTube. Today I want to look again at some of the mysteries of the ancient civilizations that I believe to be very advanced, and of course they vanished from the face of the earth, but some traces were left. I read very interesting information about such civilizations too, and I bring information from all sources. And the question was, what do ancient civilizations have in common that could not intersect with each other? And the explanation was that it was that one was proto-civilization that was destroyed 7.5 thousand years ago by the earthquake, and the second by world deluge. Very interesting point of view. Well, everyone who is interested in ancient living cultures around the world at some point comes to the conclusion that some of them are extremely similar. Buildings from South America resemble buildings from Africa, and some believe systems from Egypt, New Zealand, and Mesoamerica even have the same description of deities and mythologies. Is this a mere coincidence, or rather evidence that one common denominator has been involved in the development of mankind around the world? Contrary to appearance, there is a large group of archaeological finds that may indicate remarkable similarities between ancient cultures, despite the fact that they are separated by thousands of kilometers and even hundreds of years on the timeline. Here are some of the lesser-known examples of such an intriguing similarity. For example, the Olmecs and the 19 stelae of La Venta. The stele, or tombstone, from La Venta is the earliest known depiction of a feathered serpent in Mesoamerica. Among other ancient cultures that existed in Mexico, it could be found under the name of Kukulkan or Quetzalcoatl. He was the god of wind, sky, and earth, and was considered one of the creators of the world. His image from La Venta is at least intriguing because, according to some reports, the humanoid figure visible on the bas relief looks as it was sitting at the wheel of some vehicles. Probably no one would be interested in such a find if it were isolated, but turns out that similar paintings could be found all over the world. Mesoamerica, for example, the sarcophagus of King Pacal the Great, the ruler of the Mayas, city-state of Palenque, is often mentioned during the discussions about alien civilizations. And for good reason, because just look at its lid to see the intriguing portrait of the ruler. He takes a seat in some kind of vehicle. His hands move with something similar to controls, and his foot seems to rest on the pedal. It looks like he was breathing through a breathing apparatus, which may even suggest being in spaceship. I was told many years ago, back in the early 1990s, when I was doing some field research in Yucatan by a local law enforcement person, that there's so much more hidden in the jungles. They just don't want everyone who doesn't need to know to realize that, because of the smuggling, and I mentioned it in other videos as well. So, and we talked about this discovery, and he kind of smiled and told me, "Oh, you would be surprised." But I don't know anymore where that person is. I've been back to Yucatan, but he was not there anymore. And who knows, the people of Yucatan have their reasons to protect their treasures, as well they should. Now, there is no doubt that all the birds, snakes, and other living beings that scientists see in divine images remind us of advanced and incomprehensible machines. Naturally, we can assume that all such artifacts are only a symbolic representation of how the journey to the afterlife was imagined. It can even be assumed that several independent cultures associated the existence of the afterlife with the symbolism of the serpent and even built pyramid structures for their gods. Of course, all this is a primitive stylus, so to say, and the strength of human muscles. But will this allow us to somehow get closer to the truth? We have presented here only some of the evidence that our civilization is not the only developed culture that has functioned on Earth. Undoubtedly, they're not indisputable, but they're enough to understand that not everything can look like we were taught in schools. The question of whether we will remain open to possible research in the history of mankind, or whether we prefer to use the official account or version of history, is individual. What do you think? Well, let's look at the Maori legends. According to Maori legends, the god Purangawa wandered through the magic bird, and the magic bird came from the mythical land of the Hawaiian Islands, bringing sweet potatoes as a gift. Looking at this photo attached, it is not difficult to see the visual similarity between the Maori god and the feathered serpent. Does this mean that both cultures were visited by the same gods? At one time, by the way, there was a statement of one famous Maori being among them that their ancestors were aliens from the constellation Sirius, and on the base of the roofs of the houses they have images of three-fingered men with big eyes everywhere. According to Maori legend, the god Purangawa flew his magical silver bird from his legendary home of Hawaii to New Zealand. By the way, Hawaii is a big island. If there was a way to do more exploration of the depth of the water depths around it, I know I've learned so much about it, and it would be great to pursue it. But believe me, there are very interesting things down there. And look also at the Hawaiian legends, and I will one day bring some of this knowledge to my listeners. But Hawaii is a very interesting piece of land, but Big Island is fascinating for future underwater archaeology, looking for ancient vanished civilization. Let me stop here. One of the oldest prayers of the Maoris, which the god Purangawa gave them, is also interesting. I come, and the unknown earth lies under my feet. I come, and the new heavens open above me. I come to this earth, and it becomes for me a place of peaceful rest. On the spirit of the planets, the wanderer humbly offers you his heart as food. This is what he said. Very, very interesting. But you know what? Let's look at the other part of the world again. You know about those discovered golden Columbian airplanes, so to say, and strange artifacts resembling elements of the disappeared units or hardware? Figurines of golden airplanes were mostly found in the territory of modern Colombia, in graves, usually on the chest of the deceased leaders. The burials themselves look rather strange, a wooden box resembling either a boat or a capsule, with incomprehensible protrusions at the ends. By the way, in the Museum of Bogota, a strange disc in the form is displayed on the stand, a paddle wheel or an impeller. Of course, this is probably a solar disk, according to official version, with divergent rays, however, which at the base have points very much like rivets. I think you can pause here and just think carefully about what kind of strange object it is. And in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, there's a necklace, like you can see in my video, in the form of glasses, probably an attribute of the god Tlaloc, who, according to some signs, is very similar to a pilot from the First World War in the museums and expositions dedicated to pre-Columbia America in general. There are a lot of strange items that look very much like parts from modern aggregates, so to say, which are probably copies of lost items. And we don't know where the items come from, but we can guess. Look at the ancient image of an airplane from Haiti, from the Dominican Republic. It's black slate, height is 24.5 centimeters, width is 16 centimeters, diameter 4 centimeters. It's from 700 AD. And to finish off this bronze figurine from that place that I described to you before in China, Shangxin-Dui, from the Jinsha parking lot, from China. It was about 1200 to 1050 BC. There's so much of this in the world. I'll now try to bring you more information because people are fascinated with the hypothesis of ancient aliens. And by the way, in the future, I do want to bring some history about how this exploration started in the country of my birth, in the Soviet Union, from the 1920s. It's fascinating how in the Soviet Union the ideas of paleocontact or ancient aliens were developed, and who were the people behind them and what they thought. I think you will find it fascinating because very little is known about this angle of the research, and my job is to bring it forth. Russia, China, and of course Ukraine, Belarus, also Central Asia are the territories, so to say, where I operate. This making knowledge known to the outside world. So I thank you to the attention that you give to my work. If you can support me, you will find links in the description to this video. Please look at my other videos in the channel about ancient lost civilizations or possibly contact with ancient aliens. We just do not know enough. And I want to underline, I don't think all of the ancient civilizations are gone. I think there are remnants, active remnants of such civilizations at the bottom of our oceans and other places. And I think they are, I don't want to say watching us, but monitoring for sure. And with what reasons, I'm not sure. Hopefully to keep our ecology in one place so the planet is not destroyed. So thank you for the attention that you give to my work, and wait for more videos.